Hello, hello, hello. So welcome to day 16. Today we're going to be working a little bit more with crystals. I hope that yesterday started to expose you to some new insights and perspectives and thoughts and ideas around crystals. It is a magnificent world that once you start playing with it, it just opens up more and more and more and more. So today I'm going to give you some practical thoughts and ideas about how to work with crystals and how to use them in your day-to-day life. The power of crystals is infinite in terms of what you can do with them, and I really encourage you to let your imagination run free and to work with them in whichever way you start to get called to do so. You can use crystals with animals, crystals with children, crystals with plants, crystals in homes, crystals in offices, crystals, crystal grids for the earth. It really is unbelievably powerful, the infinite amount of potential that there is in them. So let's start off quite simply, is that probably the easiest way to work with crystals on a day-to-day basis is by wearing them. And so jewelry is very powerful. So this is a moonstone and emerald. That's one of my favorite goddess kind of necklaces. And so you will never see me without crystals on me. So it's my ruby ring. You've seen that before. This is a rose quartz, and this is called snowflake obsidian. Very beautiful for mind, body, spirit integration. So wearing crystals is a very simple and natural way to have a vibration constantly with you, on you, around you. If you don't like wearing crystals and you get pendants and bangles and that don't look like spiritual, they look very beautiful. So you can wear them at any point in time. But if you, for example, male and don't like wearing jewelry, or you're just not that kind of person, wear them in your pocket, wear them in your bra. As I told you, for me, I always choose 2 crystals, small tumbled stones, obviously, that I put in my bra, and those are my sort of my inner work crystals that I'm working with on that day. And then I have the crystals that I wear. I often get asked, can you do too much? And the answer is yes. You need to check in with your own body as to whether these crystals feel good on you, whether they feel like they're competing, whether they feel like they're cancelling each other out. Don't get too analytical around that. Use your own heart and your intuition. If it feels good for you, it's good for you. If it feels good, it can't be wrong. But if you feel scattered with that crystal, if you feel like it's you're not coping very well, so again, journaling could be a very powerful thing to become aware of. Is take a minute if you're starting to work with crystals. Today I wore this pendant. What was the awareness of that day? And maybe you'll start to see a pattern that presents itself, that whenever you wear that pendant, what happens for you. So wearing crystals is the easiest and the simplest way to work with crystals on a day-to-day basis. The next simplest way to work with crystals is through elixirs. Elixirs are where water or fluid has got charged with crystals. So if you have a look here, this is my glass of water. There's a rose quartz and an amethyst in there, and I literally put these into my water and I drink it. And so this the energy, it's infused in the water. Water is a conductor, and that's one of the reasons crystals work so well, is because the frequency of water transmutes it and transmits it. And so as a conductor, it's there, and now that crystal energy is inside. Just a note around that, a warning around that: some crystals are not healthy to ingest. There are crystals that have some mineral properties in them, like mercury or copper, or others you can have a look up. I'm not going to go through all of them now, that are not really cool things to have in your body. And so not all crystals should be put into elixirs or into your water. If you are not sure, simply Google the name of the crystal and ask, can I use it as to ingest? And there's a list of crystals, and some of which are definitely. So again, the ites you don't want to use because of it being in water, and anything that's like malachites, those typically ones are ones you're not going to want to use in water. However, if there's a crystal that has an energy for you that is very powerful, and you do want that to be water that you drink, but you don't want to ingest it, you could charge the water by putting the crystal next to the water for a period of time. And you can charge that water with that crystal, and then the water has the energetic properties of the crystal without any of the mineral deposits and sediments that exist in the crystal. So creating elixirs through positioning is really powerful. Now, elixirs can also be made into sprays, so you can take water and charge it. And many people love to do that under the moonlight as well, is to take a big bottle of distilled water, put their crystals around it, charge it overnight in the moonlight with all these crystals and the energy in it, and that you can drink if that's what you're making it for. You can call it moon water, some people do. Or you can make it into sprays, and so you could add essential oils into it, put it in spray bottles, and to spray it into the air. Very beautiful as energy clearers, and creates almost resonate that frequency of that crystal and essential oil energy into your home or into your space or into your aura. Even your pets and animals. I mean, I've got a little dog. He's Pekingese, he's gorgeous, and he has a rose quartz in his water bowl, so it charges his water. Obviously, if you've got big dogs, please don't put a little crystal in that they can ingest and swallow. And you want to use tumbled stones for drinking with. The longer you leave the crystal in the water, the more charged the water is. So you could charge today for water you're going to drink tomorrow. I simply put the crystals in and work with it that way, but you can do what you want with it. Yummy. The next way that you can work with crystals is by positioning them around your home. So if I'm wanting to bring peace into my home, I could put some crystals in my lounge that are very sort of a rose quartz and maybe a blue lace agate, which is for calm communication, or whatever it is. Trust your intuition. You can position them around your home. You put crystals in your room to sleep with. But now, again, I'm going to bring your consciousness to not all crystals are good for when you're sleeping. If it's a crystal about vibrancy and awakeness and all these things, it's not going to help you when you're sleeping. And too many crystals together in your bedroom can be overwhelming when you're sleeping. So please do that sort of one at a time, slowly, and to track for yourself, do you sleep well when you have that crystal? What are your dreams like when you have that crystal? And to see for yourself which ones work and which ones don't. Putting crystals under your mattress is a beautiful way to get healing while you're sleeping. One of the things that I recommend for many clients is taking the chakra crystals, one from each chakra, and positioning them in a column under your mattress, almost like where you sleep. And so those crystals are working on your chakras whilst you're sleeping. Again, if you don't sleep well with them, then please don't use them whilst you're sleeping. Find your own way of working with it. Some of the high ascension stones like moldavite and danburite, phenacite, even the tektites and those sort of things are not necessarily great crystals to sleep with because it keeps your energy too wide awake. The zinzites, those sorts of things. Great crystal to sleep with is amethyst. A very calming crystal to sleep with is sodalite. And one of the other crystals that some people love sleeping with and some people don't is called sugarlight. Sugilite. Sugarlight is a dream crystal, very powerful for daydreams as well. Some people find it very calming to sleep with that, and some people don't. So you've got to learn to read your own language and track your own language with it. Now, crystal grids are a crystal grid, in essence, is where you take 3 or more crystals and you position them together. Even 2 crystals can be a crystal grid, but I typically think of 3 or more crystals. When they strategically positioned together, then it becomes a grid. So, for example, you've seen this before. Let me just see if I can get it for you. Sorry, not doing. So that is a crystal grid, where all the crystals are positioned together and they now combine and work off each other and create. So let me just show you some of the other crystal grids in our room. Sorry, it's not very cool to move around like that. So there's my Buddha, that's a labradorite, and if you see in front of it, there's some crystals in front of it. There's some, very good with, maybe there's an amethyst and a kyanite. An agilite, I think it is, that I've got there. So these become a crystal grid. Let's see if I show you the whole area there. There's a clear quartz behind those candles as well. So what you're starting to see is a sort of putting together crystals. It means that they start energetically weaving together and working off each other. And what they then do is they amplify the energy field around them. Now, crystal grids, we could spend days on it. And again, I'm going to link you to a course that I run, and we play with crystal grids and we make them, and you start seeing you can create a crystal grid for abundance, for love, for passion, for grounding, for protection, for healing. And it's this combination of crystals that you put together. And then you use pointer crystals, the crystals that I showed you yesterday in my top 12, that these are pointer crystals. You use them to channel the energy. Are you amplifying the energy out of the crystal? So if I wanted to make a love grid, for example, I could put a rose quartz in the middle, and if I wanted to create abundance of love, I could put citrine around the rose quartz. If I wanted spiritual enhancement of that, I could then go and put some amethyst around that, and if I wanted that protected, I could go and put some tourmaline or smoky quartz around it, and then I could put clear quartz to amplify that. And so I've built up this sort of rings of crystals. I'll add some photos of various crystal grids that you can do, but the possibilities are infinite. You can put a central crystal, and you can put a point in the middle so it amplifies all the energy. So you can bring everything to the center and then point it up to the universe. And so when something's happening in the world that is particularly destructive, I often create a grid for peace on earth, and I create a grid where it's amplified to go out into the world. You can go and leave grids in Mother Earth so that you can help support the planet if you want to buy crystals and put them in the earth. That's a real generous spirit to do that. The grids you can create are absolutely endless. There are some beautiful books on creating crystal grids and some beautiful YouTube videos on crystal grids. Essentially, it is magnifying the energy and creating ways of these crystals to start working together. Now, I just did a workshop now recently where one of the things we did is there's crystals associated with various angels. So if you're wanting to work with angels, you can create an Archangel Michael grid, for example. You could create a grid for your child. If your child's got a learning difficulty and you're wanting them to be calmer, you could add rhodochrosite, which is an inner talents kind of crystal, and you could make them a grid and put it in their bedroom if they're open to that. I often get asked, do people need to be open to crystals to work for them? And the answer to that is no, crystals will work anyway. But if somebody's closed, it's their energy field that doesn't absorb it as much, because intention is everything. So the more awake I am and the more open I am and the more willing I am to receive, the more I'm going to get that crystal energy. It doesn't mean the crystal's not working. If I had to give a gift of a crystal pendant to somebody I love and they don't believe in crystals, the crystal will work, but it's not necessarily going to work in the same way of somebody who's like, oh, it's an amethyst, I'm open to receiving, and I set the intention of receiving that love. So it does still work. It's just an intention difference there. So crystal grids are an amazing tool, and if you're interested in it, let me know. There is a workshop that I ran that we play with crystal grids, like I said, but feel free to explore that. The other way to work with crystals is by crystal cards. So if you can't afford to buy crystals and you see either of these, there's others, but these are the ones that I enjoy the most. This is a pack of cards by Naisha Shan. It looks like this, the cover of the box. It's called the Crystal Ally cards. And these are crystal cards. This one's upside down. And essentially, like any other divination cards, you would be able to set the intention of pulling the card for today. So I'm going to pull a card for the group. And there's a card called a Zestulite. A Zestulite, at the top there you'll see it means alternative realities. And if you go to the book and you look up a Zestulite, let me just get that page for you. And I'll tell you a little bit about it so you can see how it works. This is a card for the group. Sorry, it's not in alphabetical order. And this is a storm element, so it's 275 page. And you'll see I've got some writing in. So what it does is it says a Zestulite. It tells you about the crystal itself. And then it gives you information, a message as to why you got that crystal today. So a Zestulite is calling you to let go of any and all densities in your life and embrace the higher energies that are waiting to move through you. This is the card of the priesthood in that it heralds in a time of dedication to service in the light, especially in the realms of bringing through new ways to live, give, and survive. So isn't that beautiful? So that's the card I've pulled for this video. So anyone who's watching this video today or in any future time will get this energy sent through to them. So this is a very, very, very cool way of pulling a card and working with a crystal energy for the day. And it's one of the ways that certainly I learned a lot around crystals, because as you can see, a Zestulite would be a crystal that you don't know a lot about, and it introduces you to it. So this is by Naisha Asham, and it's called the Crystal Ally cards. Beautiful, beautiful pack of cards to work with. And when I work with them, I then sometimes add this onto my altar. And we'll talk about altars in one of the other, or we have already in one of the other videos. And if I have a piece of a Zestulite, which I don't, I would add it onto the card. Otherwise, I'd put a piece of clear quartz on it, because clear quartz amplifies it. The other set of cards that's very powerful to use is the ones by, I'm really upside down today, Alana Fairchild has got some beautiful books and cards around crystals. She's got some books called Crystal Angels, Crystal Masters, Crystal Goddesses, and she assigns crystals to different angels and masters and teaches you a lot around different crystals. These cards are truly, truly, truly magnificent cards, because they've got a mandala that's been created around the card. So this card, if I can hold it still enough, is actually for a diamond, and works with the Ascended Master Babaji, and says, "So it shall be." And you can see that those graphics, that mandalas that have been created, hold energy in themselves. So these are beautiful cards to work with. Again, let me pull a card for the group and let's see what comes up for you. Okay. So this is Angel Raziel with the crystal Petersite. Petersite is a beautiful crystal for shifting change. So it's called Storm Wisdom. Petersite is quite an African stone. It's got this link to like the warrior energy and creating change. And so that's because I'm not going to read anything to you in the interest of time. But these are beautiful ways to work with many crystal energies and to learn and become more knowledgeable about crystals as you work with them. So I hope that introduces you to a few ways that you can work with crystals. It's definitely not the only ways to work with crystals. There's infinite potential, as I said, of what you can do with them. But without a doubt, one of the most powerful tools to shift and raise frequency. So with that being said, I will see you tomorrow. Namaste, sending you loads of love.